great to meet you.
Great to meet you too, Steve.
Now, I would like to know how one becomes the Riffmeister.
Have a singer that calls you that for a start. I don't know. I guess riffs are something I've always loved. Off camera we were talking about I've always played with somebody else all my life. I've never really been a virtuoso guitarist. And one of the first things Kirk and I, we started as Tim and Kirk. Kirk was my best friend since high school, and he and I played together. We learnt to play electric guitar together because prior to that, I'd only ever really played classical guitar. And my classical guitar teacher in Western Australia used to accompany me on guitar or mandolin, or trombone, strangely enough. Just funny because Kirk's learning the bone. But one of the first things we learnt to play was "Gonna See My Baby Tonight" by the La-Di-Dahs, right? And so I played the riff in that, of course, and it just always seemed to be riffs. And I guess "Smoke on the Water." I mean, you often think "Jumping Jack Flash." You often think of these, key significant moments in songs to me that mean more than the lyrics. You know what I mean? I've never been one for lyrics. Like, some people love songs and they go, "It's just such a beautiful song because of the lyric." And I'm like, "Give me a rat's ass about the lyric."
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's for women. Yeah. I'm the riff. So it was funny at Wembley when Timmy goes, "Play the riff, Timmy." Michael says, "Play the riff, Timmy." It's when suddenly you think, "Shit, there's 75,000 people looking at me. I've got to go." Play the riff, but I love that, and in Never Tear Us Apart, the dun 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 dun. I'd leave that. The more and more and more we played it, the longer and longer and longer I'd leave. The second time that riff came around, until you could go get a bite and come back, and I'd still be going, waiting. Stretch the set out as well. Then we could drop a song.
It's been an amazing career for you, and we were talking earlier, you said that's only a portion in the movie.
The telly movie, 35 years compressed into 3.5 hours. It was, there's so many stories and so much of it, we couldn't really put in, and in a sense it's compressed to keep people's attention. There could be, the actual people who produced the show, Shine, actually really wanted to make a sequel as well, but which they could do easily. But there was so many stories that aren't in there. There could have been some fantastic moments, like us touring with Queen, all Michael's friends and stuff. There's Bono's in there, I suppose, but there's so much more to it than really was in that actual show. But still, it was the first of its kind. Of course, a lot of people want to do, shows like that now. And who can blame them? But I'm just glad we were the first of an Australian band to do that. And I think in some ways, without sort of blowing our own saxophone, probably we were the ones deserving of it. AC/DC should do one and could do one. But there's only 2 Australians left in the band anyway, and they're brothers, which is ironic because...
And they were not born in Australia.
Too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Bee Gees.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, it is funny actually, because a lot of my Kiwi friends will tell me proudly that all of the best Australian bands are New Zealanders.
Yeah,
but you guys are.
Pavlova, isn't it? Yeah. No, we're not. We're proudly not New Zealand.
How did the movie come about?
Well, a lot of people had approached us about doing movies, documentaries, which is there's still a documentary in the pipeline, but and mini series and whatnot, and we'd sort of seen a few scripts and thought, well, no way that's going to happen, but. When Mark Fennessy from Shine came to us and sort of, he's so passionate about it, and he's such an Aussie, and we'd known him for a long time, a great guy, You know, and the way he talked about it, you know, it just felt like the right time. It's just a coincidence, completely a coincidence. Well, especially because none of us knew that my brother was going to stand up at the Perth Entertainment Centre and say this is possibly the last gig ever. You know, we were all as shocked as our road crew. You know, I turned around to my guitar tech and he's like, I went, don't worry, he's just kidding, you know. And afterwards we were like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, what? And of course, you know, the media and Channel 9 in particular went with In Excess calls it a day, you know, and they've broken up, and, which is all crap, you know. We can't break up. We're mostly brothers and best friends. You know, there's no such thing as breaking up. You've still got the In Excess empire to run. It's just that we have, you know, maybe retired from touring.
Right.
You know, but I mean, I've got itchy fingers already, so anything's possible. But it just, as I was saying, it's just basically a coincidence that this television movie came about, you know, just after we'd sort of semi-retired. So, but it's not, you know, in fact, for all what John did by standing up and saying that, the press around the world about the band possibly calling it a day was phenomenal. It was incredible, and in a way, it felt, you know, it felt terrible at first, but after a while, when we started living with it, it felt kind of good. You know, we're able to sort of go, oh, you know, and relax a bit, you know, instead of this constant thing of like, oh, the singer, you know. It gets to be a real drag, you know. But having said that, we work with a lot of great singers.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Well, you've it looks to younger people, you know, I'd like to do that. I want a job like that. But could you put in words just how much effort goes into creating a band like In Excess?
Right, I don't know how you put it in words. It'd be very hard. Well, there's a few more live venues coming back in Australia, in Sydney and Melbourne again, which is great to see. But basically, bands like, well, in particular, In Excess and AC/DC basically broke the world by touring and touring and touring and touring and touring. Okay, sure, we had a top 40 hit with The One Thing in 1983. That did help, and it was played on MTV, which helped enormously as well, because MTV back in the early 80s was you know, to Americans, wow, music video. You know, it was a huge thing. So that did help, and there's not a lot of sort of mediums for young bands these days. There's YouTube, but in a sense, but there's just so much. You know, it's not like, it's not focused. You know what I mean? So it's very hard for young bands to do that. But I think determination, sticking together and playing live as much as you can, really, you go through the good and the bad and the tough and this times, all those emotions together help bond you, and you know, and I mean, you know, we've lived a life together, and that you can't really teach someone. But you know, then all the bands from the 80s, like the Divinyls, Chisel, the Angels, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, really, doesn't it? You know, it's who you leave out that you know you're guilty of. But we all grew up in the pubs, you know, and any weekend or weekday you could go to your local pub and see, you know, amazing bands playing.
Yes.
You know, and people couldn't get to the bar because the venues were so packed before they brought in the fire laws and that. There was never any king punches back then, you know. People were having too good a time. They were getting their rocks off watching bands, and when they left, you know, they were all exhausted just about. There was none of, you know, there was none of this. And I think that's got a lot to do with perhaps some of the king-hitting violence that sort of happens in our society today, is that there's just not enough entertainment for people, you know.
It's true.
All they can do is get shit-faced, you know.
Basically, that's it.
Instead of the guys in the band on stage getting shit-faced.
Two worlds collided.